I would take a few minutes just to talk about mental health. There's a stigma around mental health. A lot of people are scared to talk about it, don't understand it because they're scared to talk about it. But there's a lot of people that suffer from it in different ways. I have. I would like to consider myself a manic episode survivor. In 1997, I had a manic episode which progressed to a psychotic episode, and I had to be hospitalized. And it happened as a result of me allowing myself to stay under kind of extreme amounts of stress for a very long time, not really knowing how to set boundaries for myself, how to prioritize myself, how to say no to certain things. It was a time where I was working 80-hour weeks for months, just trying to be everything to all people, and I was really not being true and good to myself. And at some point in time, the straw that broke the camel's back just broke, and I didn't really understand it, and I ended up spending about 2 weeks in a behavioral health hospital, and then after that went and had to do this outpatient treatment for, I don't know, it was a week or a couple weeks, and I got diagnosed with a bipolar disorder. And after I got out of the hospital and went to this outpatient, I was in treatment with all these people that were suffering from depression and had tried to commit suicide multiple times and just were not in a good place. And I didn't understand it, and I couldn't relate to it, and I just felt like this is a horrible thing. So back in 97, I didn't really understand what happened to me. I didn't know how to feel about it. I was a little ashamed about it. There was just a whole lot that just went on, and the feelings that I had about it were just they weren't good, right? And I felt very much alone in it. I felt very judged by people, kind of like, oh, this thing happened to you, so you must be weak. We must, treat you with kid gloves. And, I just all of a sudden became this diagnosis to everybody, right, that was around me. And they were fearful, right? So everybody was like, take a pill, take a pill, take a pill. Fast forward to what I know now, it's not really about taking a pill. For me, anyway, it's more about understanding how to set boundaries, how to put things into perspective, how not to, for me not to overload myself with things, for me not to worry so much about what people think and trying to be a people pleaser, so much so that I overburden myself. And so I also have learned that I do have a tendency to be a workaholic and put my all into everything. So when I'm working really long hours and I can be focused on something for 12, 15 hours, I have to tell myself, hey, that's not good. Don't do that. So these days, I actually do all these different challenges and everything, but I prioritize myself. Every single day, I get up in the morning and I read my Bible and I say my prayers, and I do something really good just to nurture my spirit, so that I can, I don't want to say fill my head with happy thoughts. I also do exercise every day. Most days I'll do yoga, I'll walk on the treadmill, sometimes I'll ride a bike, play pickleball. So I do a lot for myself physically as well, because there's always going to be stress in your life, There's good stress and bad stress. And so good stress is the stress that you put on your body when you exercise. And it does a lot. It's almost like you're building up your reserves for the bad stress. So if you can build up good stress, then when the times of bad stress comes, you don't have to be overwhelmed by it, because you've got this big reserve to be able to deal with it. It's like you're reserving your energy so that you can do what it is that you need to do at the times that you're dealing with really bad, stressful situations, where it's putting, a stress on your mind. So I do that for myself each and every day. I also have to pay attention to the fact that if I get caught up in negativity, like sitting around with people who are gossiping and who are gossiping or complaining about a lot of things, and getting sucked into that negative thinking, it does a lot to bring me down, or cause me to be angry or agitated or whatever. And so too much negativity for me is like poison. So again, that's really why I start my day in prayer and reading God's word, because it just gives me reminders of, life is good. I don't, because I've got God, and God loves me, and God takes care of me. And so if somebody doesn't like me, or something doesn't go my way, I don't have to bog myself down mentally about it. I don't have to stress myself unnecessarily. I don't have to be unhappy. I can think about, what are all the good things that are happening in my life? I am alive. I'm in my right mind. I can get up and I can exercise and I can move and I can do different things. I've got people around me that love me. These are all wonderful things. And so rather than focusing on what's not going my way and weighing myself down mentally, I can have a grateful mindset, right? And really focus on the things that are good and give God his glory for letting me be here. And that gives me peace, and that peace keeps me in my right mind. The other thing that I would tell you is it's important for me to do these things and to think about these things every day, and to kind of have a routine, rituals for my life, for my daily life and my mental health, just to make sure that I'm putting myself in the best position not to put myself at risk for things. Now, I had to learn this the hard way, because I had an episode in 97, I had an episode in 2005, I had one in 2013. But, so I was like on this 8-year cycle. And, when it happened in 2005, it's almost like, hey, I've been living my life and I've been doing good, but there was something that I didn't learn about how I relate to the world, and what it is that I need to do for myself to protect my health, my mental health, my well-being. And so I fell prey to that, and it happened again. But what I did find, I discovered that for me, all I've ever had is a manic episode. I've never been on the depressed side. There's so many different types of mental illnesses, so I don't understand anything other than my own. But what I did find is that when if you've ever had a manic episode and you have another one, you tend to do the exact same things every single time. So the first time it happened, I didn't have any clue what was happening to me. I just didn't understand. I didn't know anything about mental health. I didn't even know that to be a concern or anything. But the second time around, when it happened, I found myself doing things that were similar, and I recognized it, but I didn't necessarily know how to get myself the help that I needed. I went about it. I tried to get myself like, hey, you know, I haven't been, I lost 10 pounds in a week and I haven't been able to sleep, right? I'm still working all the time. Something's not right here. And so I could recognize it, but I didn't know how to get help. I did end up going to the hospital, and I told the people at the hospital, I was like, hey, you know, I had this manic episode in 1997 and I think it's happening again, you know, because here's what's happening. It's kind of like exactly the same. Can you please help me? Can you just, you know, admit me? And they couldn't do that for me because I didn't say the right words. You know, I had to literally say that I was like a danger to myself, or, you know, that I was going to hurt somebody, and I wasn't able to do that. So they ended up giving me like a sleeping pill or something, and I took it, but it really didn't work. And so this manic episode again accelerated into a psychotic episode. And when it changed to a psychotic episode, then, you know, I called an ambulance and everybody knows, and I ended up in the hospital again. So I had to learn in that situation that you have to learn to help yourself, to advocate for yourself, to know what to say, and to not be afraid of it. So when it happened again in 2013, you know, I probably went like maybe a day and a half, and I recognized something was wrong, and it wasn't that bad. But I know that when it's happening, I can't necessarily get myself out of it, so I need to go and do something and get some help. So this time, you know, I went to the hospital. I said the words that I needed to say. I got admitted right away. I was able to get some medication. I think I spent a couple days there, and then I was good to go. And it's kind of never happened since then because I learned these things. Now, the reason that I'm talking about it today is because I know some other people that deal with the same types of things, and what I've seen in them is they have these recurring episodes, but they don't want to admit what's happening to them. You know, it's like somebody diagnosed them with a bipolar disorder, and they're like, I'm not accepting that. I'm not embracing that. I want to call it something else, right? And because they can't just accept it, and so for me, I don't care what it's called, right? I just know, you know, that from time to time, something's not right up here. My thinking is not right. My chemistry is off. I need to I need to stabilize myself, and that's the only thing that matters to me. So they get caught up in, you know, again, it's the stigma of it, and because you don't like what somebody is labeling this thing, then you won't claim it. And then when you start manifesting these behaviors, you know, that come along with like a manic episode, and it's similar to what it is that you've done every other time, you can't even recognize it in yourself. And because one, you don't want to accept it, two, you can't recognize it, you can't put a plan together for how to deal with it. So for me, I would tell people, hey, if you see me and I'm talking a mile a minute and you can't get a word in, you know, you can't get a word in for me, and I'm just talking, consuming up the conversation, you know, for hours, right? That's a problem. If I haven't been eating, and I haven't been able to sleep, and I'm agitated and angry, like all those things, then you can tell me, hey, I think you're having an episode. I need you to do something. And depending upon who tells me this, I may or may not believe them and embrace them, but I actually do have some people in my life that I do trust and that who have seen it, and I can go to them and I can say, hey, so-and-so said they're worried about this with me. Tell me what you think. And if they tell me, yeah, it seems like something's off, then I will run myself to the hospital. I will lie and say, hey, I've been thinking about hurting people. I really think something's wrong. Help me. I'll get admitted and I'll get the help that I need. Sometimes I do need medication. And so for me, when it has happened to me, it's come on very, very quickly. It's like an acute thing that happens over a couple of days, and it's recognizable within a couple of days. And if I go in and I get myself some help, then it kind of resolves itself in a couple of days too. Now, what I've seen with the folks, other folks that I know that deal with the same things, is they don't really recognize it. They don't, or even if they do, they don't want to admit it. They don't want to own up to it, and they don't want to go and seek any type of treatment, whether it be behavioral health treatment or, medication. They just don't want to do it. And in their situation, this thing lingers for months. Now, for me, I just know this could be something that's very, very disruptive to your life. So for me, I don't want it to be disruptive. Now, for me, all it is I have a hard time eating. I have a hard time sleeping. I get angry, and I talk a lot. Those are my symptoms, and that's all it's ever been. For other people, they get really paranoid. They think everybody is against them. They get angry. They want to go and spend all their money. They've got all these grandiose ideas and stuff like that. And so, depending upon who you are and how it manifests in you, how it disrupts your life and how it disrupts the relationships that you have with people in your life can be very different, right? I'm not the same as you. You're not the same as, your brother or your sister or your cousin or your friends. Everybody's situation is very unique, and they have to deal with their stuff in their own way. And oh, by the way, mental health challenges is something that can happen to anybody, right? So don't think that, this can't happen to me, because it can happen to anybody. And so my biggest takeaway and my biggest learning is accept what's happening. Don't care about the label. Understand how to recognize when it is happening. Understand the types of things that you can do to prevent these things from happening. If it does happen, have a plan for how you're going to get yourself help so you can get out of it, so you can just get back to your life. And so that's the thing that I wish for folks, to not be stigmatized by it, not to be ashamed. For me, I think having a manic episode is similar. It's not really similar to it, but it's no different than having a migraine, right? You got a migraine headache. There's all kind of pain that you're feeling. There's something that you need to do about it. You caught COVID. You need to do something about it. You've got a bladder infection. You need to do something about it. There are situations that happen in your physical health and your mental health that can be acute. It's something that happens for a short period of time. It doesn't have to be your whole life. It doesn't have to consume you. But if you need some help, just go get some. It's in your best interest, right? I'm not a big fan of medication, and so, but if I need it, just like if I had a headache, I will take a Tylenol if I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm not taking Tylenols every day. So if I have a manic episode and I know that I'm out of sorts and my chemistry is off, and some doctor said, hey, you need to take something, I'm going to take something until I can get stabilized. And then I'm going to go to therapy. right? Because there's something that wasn't right in the way that I was living my life and how I was relating and responding to things. And maybe I just need a refresher on understanding triggers and understanding coping skills and how to apply them. Nothing wrong with that. So for me, anything that's going to put me in a position to where I can be in my right mind and have peace and be happy and live my life the way that I want to live it peacefully, that's what I'm going to do. And I pray that that's what others would do as well. That's my share for today. Take care.